Hey everyone, it's time for another species spotlight. I know it's been a while, and we're going to start things off with a pretty cool little lizard, and that is the giant crimson day gecko. So these guys have been made famous by obviously a particular insurance company that may or may not save you a small amount of money or something like that, but I can't say because of monetary issues and things like that. But anyway, I digress. These guys are really cool animals. They are really great display species of lizard. So these guys, they are day geckos. Most of the day geckos originate from Madagascar. Most of them are all part of the same genus. So the crimson day geckos, like the Gecko gecko. Oh no, I just said it. Oh well. Hopefully you all won't get too mad. But anyway, so these guys, the little Williams eye, the electric blue day geckos, the peacocks, the gold dust, all of those, they're all part of the same genus. They just vary in size. But their care is all pretty much the same, and it's pretty easy. So on the island of Madagascar, we all know it's a very varied climate, but a lot of them kind of get the same care in general. So when we think about a setup, these guys are one of the largest species of day gecko. Some of them can almost reach 12 inches as length, and then I don't know about how big my hand is. My hand is probably about 9-10 inches from like here to here, and that's about the size of mine. So about 9-10 inches long-ish is about the size of mine, but supposedly some of the big ones can reach up to 12 inches. I've never seen one quite that large, but I've seen some pretty big heckin' chonkers out there. So when you're talking about a lizard that big, you need a decent sized space. So we're talking a minimum of 18 by 18 by 24, and that's just like bare minimum. If you can go bigger, absolutely go bigger, especially with lizards in general. Always go bigger. They are a diurnal species, so they do need a little bit of UVB light. They don't need like blazing hot over them, like super high levels like a bearded dragon or an Ackie monitor or something like that. But because they do hang out not at the very top of the canopy, so they're a fair amount of like foliage and cover, but they're still active during the day, so they do need some lighter UVB in general. They need to have it. As well as, so a lot of the geckos, especially ones that have really grown in popularity, like the crested geckos and the gargoyle geckos, a lot of those can do really well at just kind of room temp. These guys do need a bit of a basking spot during the day. They're okay with some decent nighttime spikes. So if you just had like a UVB bulb and then like a daytime basking bulb of like a basking temp of like 90, then that's all you really need. And at night, if it drops down to, like the mid 70s room temp, then perfect. There you go. You got your setup. And that's probably the closest I'll get to actual care for these guys. But they're just a really cool lizard species in general. But that being said, they're definitely a display species. And the reason for that is their defense mechanism. So we all know that geckos and a lot of lizards in general are very famous for a defense mechanism, which is dropping a part or their whole tail as kind of like okay, the predator got me. If I drop the tail, he'll grab onto that, and then I can get away, and then I can regrow the tail. Unless you're a crested gecko, in which case you end up looking like a frog. But these guys, they will drop their tail. They also have this weird thing that I don't fully understand why it's a defense mechanism, is they will literally slough off whole chunks of skin off of them, which is not great. It does regrow, but I imagine it's very stressful for them and probably pretty uncomfortable, so I don't like to stress them out as much as possible. They don't stress out like a crested gecko that, sometimes if you walk into the room wrong, they'll flip out and drop their tail. But you have to really kind of mess with them, really kind of go after them to get them to do that. But I try not to stress them too much. So with that in mind, they do like very heavily planted terrariums and enclosures. A lot like the bioactive, which is really coming in full swing these days, is perfect for these guys. Big, broad, leafy plants, nice, deep-rooted things like that, snake plants, and isopods, and the whole shebang work really well for these type of geckos, and realistically for any of the day geckos in general. But these guys are really cool. They are very prolific breeders. They have been known to show a little bit of aggression from like male to male, even female to female, even sometimes male to female. So you really have to kind of keep an eye on them when you first introduce them. But if you have a nice setup and they've acclimated to each other, they supposedly breed fairly heavily and reliably. So that's why the reliance on importation captive breeding programs have really taken that. They've taken that stress and that pressure off, so they're not nearly as endangered as they could be, because Madagascar, we are still getting some imports from there to this day. But luckily with captive breeding programs, success with our hobbyists and things like that, they do really well. I have a pair of the females that you see in the video. Don't have any males. People have suggested to me that I get one or not, but then I'm going to have to move them to a larger enclosure because there's no way I'm going to cram 3 of them into a space meant for 2. But that being said, they are really cool geckos, and another cool thing about the day geckos is they're omnivores. So, like, same with, like, the crested geckos and the gargoyles, and even leeches, too, because leeches absolutely will eat, like, crested geckos. But these guys, in their natural habitat, they eat a lot of insects, a wide variety of insects. They'll eat nectar, pollen, they'll eat flowers, they'll eat fruit. They'll eat kind of a wide variety of things. And so in captivity, we can give them like our crusty powder diet, like the Rapashi, the Pangea, as well as we can give them a variety of mixed dusted and calcium D3 and multivitamin powder. We can give them a little wide variety of those. Crickets, small dubia roaches, mealworms, all sorts of fun things. They may not regularly like come over and eat off your tongs. I'm sure if you worked with them long enough, you might be able to get that. But it is really cool to just throw some little crickets in there or even a couple dubia roaches because they will absolutely go through and hunt around for them. Dubia roaches, they will have a tendency to not get very well. So if you're going to tong feed or try to put them up like on a branch or somewhere where the dubia can't fall off and you know the gecko can get it. But like crickets and mealworms, you can put them in like a dish, and the crickets, obviously, they'll climb all over the place and they can go hunt them. The long and the short of it is, these guys are really, really cool display species. And if you're going to get into geckos and more of kind of display bioactive type animals, these guys make a great choice. And they're getting very popular too for all these reasons. They breed regularly, they're not overly expensive, they're widely available, they're pretty big, and as long as you stay hands off, they're fairly hardy as long as you have your, temps and husbandry kind of dialed in a little bit. And they are a little bit resistant to, they're not like the most delicate species of lizard in the world. So they're a really cool species, great to get into the display species of that, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in one of the previous videos. I'll try to remember to put the little link for it right here. You can go check out a lot of the wide display species of reptiles in general. Hope you like this video. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know down below. Email me at jzsreptiles@gmail.com. Check out our podcast. If you guys have anybody in mind of any cool people or topics you'd like to hear covered on that as well, please let me know. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll check you next time.